Welcome to the Morning Formation. This episode is powered by Act Now Education. Warriors, fall in. It's time for formation. So today on the Morning Formation podcast, I am thrilled to have a special guest who's been lighting up TikTok and Instagram with his unique brand of comedy. He's known for his spontaneous street interviews and hilarious skits. He's the creative force behind the Jabbaloon Show. So I want to dive in the world of his viral content and his concepts behind comedy, because he definitely caught my attention to the point to where I was just binge watching all of his content all in one evening. And I love it. Whenever you have something new, Jabbaloon, I'm instantly on it. Like, I have my notifications set that you posted and you're uploaded, man, because it's just so hilarious. And I love how you catch people off guard.
Thank you, bro. What an intro. I'm flattered. I'm honored. This is awesome. Yeah, you're killing it, dude. I'm excited to be here.
You know, I caught up with you when you were on your live, and I just threw it out there. Like I just said, hey, man, like, I love your content. Would you come interview? And I was absolutely shocked when you were like, yeah, I'd love to. I've been wanting to do a podcast. No one's asked me.
I'm small time, bro. I'm just getting going. Oh. So I'm at 20K, and not that it's all about the numbers, but yeah, I started this page only maybe like a year and a half ago. So it's just over a year ago that like one little video went viral. Not to jump right in, but and that kind of took off from there. So yeah, I'm still at the beginning stage. So doing a podcast, I feel like a fucking celeb. Can I use the F-bomb?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Of course. No, man, I guess we all kind of are humble and we all feel small time, but I would imagine you are getting like thousands and thousands of eyes like on your stuff, man. What would you say was probably your most viral piece of content that you've had so far?
Man. So basically, God, I could make this show so much longer than we anticipate, so much to get into, but I basically got into streaming through a weird roundabout way. Man, I'm turning this into a long answer, but I briefly worked with Shaggy Two Dope from Insane Clown Posse.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And because we were both in Michigan, I was pursuing music. And I'm like, okay, I was a fan of them as a kid, and I'm like, I'll reach out to them. And they had a podcast going, and I'm like, maybe musically something can happen from networking with them. Worked with them for a little while, and never really went anywhere. They didn't really have the budget to be paying anybody. So eventually, I was able to hop on one of their streams, though, like their live stream on Twitch, and I was like, dude, this is such a fun outlet. Like, I don't know. It was just like letting out my crazy side, just getting to be totally out there, because people are eating it up. And I'm like, there's like no way I'm not gonna not pursue this. So, started streaming, had like, I don't know, 6 regular people watching, like nobody, for maybe a half a year. And I'm like, I'll start a little Instagram just to promote the stream, and I'll do little promo videos. Just doing promo videos, and I'm like, why don't I just make some original content? And I'm like, what can I do, just to entertain the few people that were watching? And then it just kind of developed, like, I'm like, what can I do? And eventually I'm like, screw it. I'm just going out with a cam and just going to talk to people. So on the drive over, one little insight I got was like, shut off the music. Like, let's just have a blank slate, leave some space for ideas to come up. And I was like, I know this isn't what you asked, but so I'll get to it. I was like, what if I was going to call it Jabbaloon Show already, because that was my nickname. That's what I was using for the name of my music. And it was just an idea that'd been kicking around forever to do like comedy sketches called Jabbaloon Show, probably in my back pocket for like 10 years. Anyway, so I went out there and I'm like, what if I just asked people like to pretend to be fans of the show? Like, that's where it started from. I'm like, what if I just ask people to say, to pretend like they know the show, and just see if they'd go along with it, and just make it kind of awkward and put them on the spot. Obviously letting the audience know that they don't really know, and And then I'm like, oh yeah, and then what if I reveal that the show's something like really off-putting that they wouldn't want to be associated with? So immediately it was like, I'll go up to presumably straight dudes and say it's about hot naked dudes, and see the reaction. So it came from there. Also, I was like, white supremacist. I could say it's a white supremacist show. I could say it's a satanic show. So you've seen all the stuff. So I've done all those things and always trying to think up of new offensive, off-putting things. And so the first one, go ahead.
Something completely off the wall.
Yeah. Something that would
just to throw them off.
Elicit a reaction. Yep. And man, I went out to the third ward in Milwaukee, this little walking area, which somehow always has foot traffic, no matter how blistering cold it is. It was like, I don't know, it was probably like 15 degrees or something. It was really cold. And I'm just like, let me give it a try. Let me just go up to people. I was so nervous. I'm like, I can't believe I'm just going to approach people. This sucks. Which is still basically how I feel when I go out. But yeah, so I saw this dude walking by and I'm like, okay, ask him. And I backed out. I chickened out and then, asked a couple other people. They mostly just laughed. They got it was a prank. And I was like, okay, maybe I can use that. And then I saw that same guy again. I don't know why I was singling him. Maybe I just had a vibe or something. I don't know. He was just like 30-something-year-old black dude, tall guy. Was like, I don't know. So I saw him walk by again. I'm like, go for it. You never know. What if this could be the one that takes off and you miss it? I'm like, what if this is, I don't know. I just had that thought that maybe, like I could be passing up a huge opportunity if I don't just like nut up and do it. So anyway, I asked him I still refer to him as the Hell Nah guy. And it was the first time, like some of these lines just came out spontaneously. So I think they came out so genuine because they were just off the cuff and just ran through the basic format. If people haven't seen it, I was like, hey bro, would you mind saying you're watching the Jabbaloon Show? He's like, what's that? I'm like, it's my show. He's like, you're watching the Jabbaloon Show. I'm like, oh, do you like the Jabbaloon Show? And he's like, I've never seen it. I'm like, well, just if you can just kind of pretend. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you love the Jabbaloon Show? I remember it all by heart. He's like, yeah, I love the Jabbaloon Show. I'm like, all right. And I'm stumbling over my words. I'm like, for some reason, I'm throwing in amen. I'm like, instead of hell yeah, like I say now, I'm like, amen. So I don't even know where it came from. I do have some religious background as a youth, but I'm like super nervous, which apparently you said doesn't come across, which is good. But he says, anyway, I'm like, we'll be right back with plenty of more hot guys right after our messages. And he's like, oh, hell no. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the show. He's like, naked guys. And I was like, God, I'm doing black accent. I'm going to get canceled. But he's like, naked guys. I was like, yeah, that's the show. I was like, it's not porn. He goes, it's not porn. I'm like, no. And then I don't know where it came from. I was like, it's just solo guys. Like, I don't know, because I thought it would be funny to say, because it's almost like if you have to tell someone it's not porn, that's a sign that it probably is something like porn. You know what I mean? Like if you're saying it's just solo guys, like I'm trying to make it more mild, but it's almost sounding worse, So I'm like, yeah, it's just solo guys on webcam. And he's like, oh, hell nah. And then that's how I cut the clip, just for it to end right on there. Bad audio, bad production. I'm just using a selfie stick. I didn't have an external mic. And for whatever reason, threw it up there for my little group of like maybe a dozen people, where I think I had like 100 followers, but they weren't like watching it. And somehow, I don't remember how quick it happened, but it just started blowing up. Like people just loved that clip, and it just started so I think within like a week I hit like 6,000 followers, which was huge for me because I'd been pursuing music. And so you can tell I've never been on a podcast because I'm like, I got to tell my whole story. But I'd been pursuing my music and my art for years, couldn't get any traction. And then I'm like, this dumb little, gay dude joke is like what blows up. So it hit like 3.6 million views, and I got the 6,000 followers. And so that's kind of the original quintessential video. And that was the first one I threw up of that whole prank.
You know,
Yeah.
that's amazing how you just kind of tripped and fell, and then you fell on some success, man.
Yeah, dude.
For folks out there that haven't gone viral before, though, I mean, everyone has like this idea that you go viral, now you're making all this money. Like, do the platforms really pay that much for going viral and like having followers? I mean, have you seen a lot of growth from like other companies coming in and wanting to work with you? What would you say about that?
I'm absolutely deeply into the hole with this stuff. Like, no, zero money. Everything I've done, I'm like just funneling money into it and just hoping it'll pay off one day. But up until recently, I've had shirts since I was doing music probably 6 years ago. I sold maybe 2, and then just the other day I sold 2 more because I finally started advertising it on my new stuff. And so it's all just been like, I have merch, but it's just giveaway. I've mailed out like hundreds of stickers for free and giveaway. I had all this merch before I even had any success for some reason. So coasters and my CD buttons, all that. No, Instagram alerts me every time you can't monetize this video. They don't let me monetize any of my videos. TikTok constantly shadow bans them and turns the sound off, even for words like genitalia. I got to censor out genitalia.
Yeah.
Today, sound was off. I had to censor out the word penis. I'm like, these are medical terms. Like,
Right.
And so they don't let me monetize on Instagram.
Well, like, how in the world do these guys that do these? Because the thing I love about what you do is that you, at least at the end of your prank, tell them it's a prank. I mean, I've seen other videos where folks are doing pranks and they're very questionable pranks that can be possibly dangerous or violent.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it all, they're not telling anyone that, oh, by the way, this is just a prank.
Right.
Like, how are those guys making it?
I don't know, dude. I see some people's stuff and I'm like, not to sound cocky, but I'm like, man, the production level's pretty low. Like, not that mine's great, but I'm like, they're not getting much of a reaction. And somehow maybe they just put in more time, but
I mean, some of it I just don't think is creative. Like going to Lowe's or Home Depot and picking a fight with an old guy.
Right.
Like that's not a creative thing to do. Like what you're doing, in my opinion, is unique, and it's funny because like people all the time are mindlessly doing things.
Right.
Putting in a sponsor for someone and they don't even know what they're doing, and then you come in and introduce at the end what it is, and they're like, whoa, that just a look on their face. To me, that's comedy art.
Thank you.
So these other guys are just doing stupid shit like grabbing people's carts and slinging it across the aisle. And I'm like,
right.
Dude, that's going to lead to like assault. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know how these guys are making it, man. Like that's why I love your like what you're doing, because it's all a little bit more innovatively creative. So I just had to ask about that part with the viral and content creation stuff. And would you say that your future plan is to stick with content creation, or are you going to kind of do music and that both?
I'm trying to like poach some of the Jabbaloon Show followers to be interested in the music. Like I've done a couple collab posts with my music page. I think I wanted to be a musician my whole life. It was my dream. And, I spent like I spent a long time trying to do it, but 3 designated years where I wasn't working another job. I was like spending all my savings. I was paying my buddy like $10 an hour to help me. Huge shout out to my boy Justin, and couldn't have done it without him. But yeah, we'd spend 3 hours making a beat, making a song, spend another couple hours making a cool psychedelic visual to go with it, post it on Instagram, get like 6 likes. I mean, just couldn't make any traction. Put together this crazy live show with visual effects and lights and strobe and smoke and a confetti cannon. I don't know. Music business is hard to break into. And finally within like the past 2 years, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like I always want to play music and I do it on my stream a lot and I love it, but you know, I don't know, doing the comedy stuff, it's been fun. And to what you said before, I know some of these pranksters are so mean, and it's such a like a malicious. It's like punch you in the face. Just kidding, you know, like
Well, yeah,
it's
and
not
I've
a
seen
prank.
these guys. I've seen these guys like square up on people before, and I'm like, wow. When it gets to that point, like that's no longer to me. That's not funny. Like that could be my dad. That could be my
Right,
grandpa.
exactly.
That's not cool. Like
Right,
so, I don't get it. I don't know if those guys are. That's why I asked about the money part because
right.
to me, it's got to be worth it to do something that vile, vile to another person,
Sure.
man. So, um,
Yeah,
let's.
side note, I would love a sponsor though. Would be awesome. I don't know how to go about doing it. I'm just, learning as I go, lots of trial and error. But the mean stuff, to be honest, in the beginning, I wasn't telling people it was a prank, and I was letting them leave. Think like the Hell Nah guy.
Uh-huh.
He left saying, if you post this, I'm gonna sue you. I don't want to be on any gay website, whatever. And I never told him because I just thought there was more like integrity in it. I don't know what I was thinking. And then at some point, I'm like, this feels mean. And I realized like people also really like to see the reveal and see people laugh it off. I'd say 1 in 30 people get real upset, which I do
Yeah.
feel bad about. But I kind of go to like, you want to make an omelet, got to crack some eggs. Like, I know it's going to piss off the
Right.
occasional person, but for the laughter, and I feel like the community of the Jabbaloon Show, like, is so positive. Like, it's a positive vibe. It seems to attract a lot of positive people. So, yeah, I'm happy to keep it more positive.
Yeah, man. And you kind of brushed over it earlier, but you talked about working with Insane Clown Posse. They're huge up where you're at in the Detroit area.
Right, right.
How did you meet them?
Yeah, well, God, another little bit of background. My parents have a pie business. They started when I was 8, so they've been in the pie business like 3+ decades out of Metro Detroit. I try not to connect it too much to my stuff, so I won't go in too many details. But just since don't necessarily want that association for their sake. But they, I sent them a pie. I was like, I reached out to them and I go, hey, do you guys want could I send you some pie? Just like, I don't know, it's been a good foot in the door. Like, my parents gave away a ton of free pie getting their foot in the door. And even though it's not related to food, like, I'm like, so we did some pies. We decorated them up with like their face, with the ICP clown makeup and with chocolate and made little, shaped it all out. They looked pretty cool. And their producer was like, hey, actually, do you think we could film something at the pie shop? Just kind of do like a pie baking tutorial. So they came on to do it. Shaggy Two Dope and his partner at the time. It wasn't the other guy from ICP, but it was his like comedy partner that they were doing a podcast and vlogs. And um, I was like, man, this is our chance. So me and my boy Justin were like, let's just go all out. Like we had, again, funneling money into it, hoping it'll pay off. Like a baker's style old fashioned hat that said Shaggy and the other one with the other guy's name, and made this like by hand concocted this pie slingshot because they're just into like wacky stuff. I'm like, they can shoot each other with pies. Just like made a real elaborate day, and they were like real impressed by it, and they're like, oh, wow, you also edit video, do you want to come work for us for free? And so I was like, yeah, like I'll eventually need to get paid, but for now I'm like, man, my Shaggy Judo was like childhood hero,
Yeah.
so I'm like, uh who knows where it will go. And indirectly it led to all this other stuff. So if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have got to the Jabbaloon show.
I remember when I was in high school in Ohio, there was a lot of guys that loved ICP. I
Yeah.
mean, that was back when we had the big one speaker shoved into our trunks
Yep.
And all that bass and everything. So that's fascinating, man, because I know that they're huge celebrities in the Midwest specifically. I mean, all over, but
Right.
mainly in the Midwest for
Yep.
sure.
Definitely Michigan, Ohio.
So aside from music, do you do any other type of art,
Um,
or what I would call art? I mean, creative processing, or
not really. Music, comedy stuff. I'm thinking about dipping my toe into stand up. I'm 40. I know I'm too old to
you
really
should.
get anywhere with it, but I'm like,
You
I kind
should.
of just want the challenge and I think it would be
Yeah.
fun. And I'd like to develop the skill set. Like, what if we can throw a Jabbapalooza one day?
I was honestly thinking that too, man. I think you have a knack for comedy. I
Oh,
really do.
thanks. Thank you.
I really do. And you mentioned earlier about the anxiety. I mean, I'm shocked to hear that you have anxiety when you're walking up to strangers on the street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, even like yes or 2 days ago, I went out. Still, after doing it so much, I'm like in my car. I'm like, oh, fuck, this sucks. Like, it's the one part, I'll be honest, I don't
Really?
really like doing that part, but the payoff is so big. So I just force myself into it. Now I've been live streaming it, and that does help because it encourages me to like push it further because there's people
Yeah.
watching and it takes the anxiety off. Because normally it's like I'm going up to someone, I'm like, okay, just say it, just say it. And then I say it, do the thing. Usually while I'm in it, I'm not too nervous, once I'm immersed in the interaction. But then afterward, even if it goes good, I'm walking away like, what did I just do? But if I know I got good footage, it's like a total rush and a high. And then I'm editing it. I'm so excited for everybody to see it. So it pays off. But yeah, going out there, I'm walking away from each interaction, especially the ones where they get upset, I'm just walking away, just, festering with anxiety.
Yeah. I'm during this podcast, because I recorded this on video too. I'm gonna throw up. I downloaded one of your most recent uh content that where you're on the street and you're talking to a guy, and he says, "Yeah, watch the Jabbaloon Show," and then you mention the #1 show for STDs in Milwaukee, and he's like, "What?" And he goes, "You got something on your eye or
Oh,
whatever." That's so funny.
all
So I'm
right.
gonna make sure I throw that one up on the screen here for folks to just get a reference for. Um,
Nice.
how do you think you handle the anxiety though? Like what's your best method? Like, do you do any type of CBD? Do you like meditate? Do you breathe? Like, what do you do to get through that?
Sure.
Because a lot of people are stage fright. Even getting on a camera like this is really difficult, even for me.
Yeah. Um, man, I wish I had a great answer.
You're still trying to figure that out, huh?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just forcing myself to do it, I'm
Yeah.
like just letting my will override my emotions and be like, I'm going into this, diving in the deep end of the pool and just kind of push myself to do it. I don't really have better advice than that. I am on some head meds, but it doesn't really
Well,
help while I'm out there.
I mean, I think as a musician though, you kind of have to have that "I don't give a shit" attitude. I'm gonna do what I do, and either they like it or they don't like it. It is what it is. So you kind of got to have that attitude just to get on stage and play in front of groups of strangers, right? So,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure to some extent you have like your natural coping mechanisms
Right.
to get yourself to the edge and then take
Yeah.
that jump, right?
Sure. I've always liked performing and stuff. I think I would for like my family and things. And I did some plays in high school. Like I liked getting up on stage and doing that. Like evoking a laugh from audience is obviously like a huge high. But yeah, I really think you got to just probably sounds corny, but like um you got to force yourself to take those risks and to push yourself, you know, and test your limits and go for it and bigger risk and the potential for reward.
Yeah, I mean, as cliche as that sounds, you're right. I mean, even for me doing this podcast, I know that friends, coworkers are going to see me, they're going to laugh, they're going to make stupid whatever, but you just kind of have to not care. Like, because those same people become fans at some point, or at least they're watching your stuff and they're like, "Oh, I wish I could do that too," right? So, um
No, yeah,
as far
well, you being in the military, I'm sure it was, you know being sent off to
well,
Iraq or even signing up. I mean, tons of pushing yourself to the limits.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the first time when I was a young adult, I had to stand in front of like a platoon or an entire company. Like a platoon is around 30 to 40 soldiers. Standing in front of them and like talking and or standing in front of 300 soldiers talking is
Right.
that's tough.
Yeah.
Really tough, especially when you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground and you're like 22 years old and
Right.
you don't know anything, but you're pretending you do. So yeah, I mean, but you always have that in the back of your mind of being judged. I don't think that ever
Right.
goes away.
Right.
That's definitely a big challenge. But how are you planning on transitioning into comedy? Have you looked into any local comedy? Are you going to do stand up or?
Yeah, I did one open mic. Um, the main thing I'm proud of myself of is I wasn't that nervous. I honestly think it's from doing all the street stuff that like I think I have I don't know, numb or callous probably isn't the right word, but like just sort of let go of a lot of that social anxiety. Like going up on stage wasn't probably as hard as going up to a stranger, you know. So I think it sort of, worked in a little bit. And so
Yeah.
I did an open mic, and I was proud of myself that I didn't do very well, but I didn't like beat myself up afterward, which is really easy to say, oh, feel like a failure or something. And then somebody asked me to judge a roast battle, so I got to do that and be on the mic a little bit. And I think, yeah, then the Jabbapalooza thing was like, it's like a half joke because I don't expect any kind of festival, but I'm like, hey, maybe once I hit 100K followers, if I do, like, could rent out a bar, get a dozen people there, and like we could have a talent show. We could have male strippers walking around in speedos with hors d'oeuvres. Like I don't know, just picturing like making like a really wacky party. And I'm like, I want to have that skill set of being able to be up in front of people and like I do on stream and kind of let out my just to get to be free and let out my silly side. And so yeah, I'm trying to get to another open mic. I'm gonna make myself do it here eventually.
Yeah, I definitely think it's all about growth. It's
Yeah.
all about growth. Whether, man, as morbid as it sounds, whether you're going through a divorce, like I have a buddy going through a divorce right now, I simply told him, I said, look, as long as you come out the other side a better man, that's all that matters. And it's the same thing with like this podcasting thing I'm doing, with what you're doing with content creation, pushing the limits, um, and coming out every single week just a little bit better, man. And it sounds like your anxiety and your I don't know if you call it street fright or stage fright,
Right.
is sort of surpassing, going away, man. And I
Right.
definitely think you have a knack for comedy. I was going to mention something to you about the whole stand-up comedy thing,
Sure.
um, which brings me to your childhood nickname, Jabbaloon. And
Yeah.
that's what you go by, right? Jabbaloon. That'd probably be your comedy bit. How did that get started?
Yeah. So I don't know where my mom came up with it. She's just when I was like a baby, like one or something, she just started calling me Jobbaloon. She'd say Jobbaloon, but I think I was just a fat, roly poly baby. My name's Josh. Somehow just the little affectionate nickname Jobbaloon worked out. So yeah, I mean, mostly I go by Josh in normal day to day, but like my family would be like, "Oh, hey, Job," or Jobbaloon on a Christmas present or something. So they've always used it. So when I needed a name for my music, I was like, just any name I came up with sounded so contrived and whatever. And I'm like, well, let's just call it Jobbaloon because it's original. I already identify with it. It's not like making up a name for myself, like The Edge or something. No offense to them, but to you too. But you know, so yeah, so it kind of just became the overarching name for all my content.
You have a separate YouTube channel with your music on it?
Yeah, well, my YouTube, I have it all on there. It's the Jabbaloon Show on YouTube, and then Jabbaloon Music on Instagram and TikTok is my music if people want to check it out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely put that down in the show notes,
Cool.
and in the show description. Um, the content that you do though, I wanted to know, is it spur of the moment or is it scripted? Do you know what questions you're going to ask that day? Do you know like where to go, and like what places do you go to specifically to go do this sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, I moved to Milwaukee like 2 years ago from Detroit, and just through trying it out, have kind of found a few little areas that seem to have foot traffic consistently, you know. So if there's an event at Pfizer Forum, the big arena, I'll go there. If the, you know, basketball game or something. Downtown, there's always people in the third ward, the historic third ward. There's always people. And mostly, yeah, I try to take notes now because getting out there, I'm like, wait, what am I going to say? Which one am I going to? And I forget. I revert back to the naked dudes, which is like, I want to expand beyond that. So occasionally I'll jot it down since I'm using my phone to stream. I'll jot down like Satanism, white supremacy, STDs, you know, just so I can like remember it. And then when I go up, you know, it depends, you know, with women, I don't do anything like sexual related, just seems inappropriate. You know, I only feel comfortable doing that to dudes, and maybe I shouldn't, even to dudes, but, you know, yeah, some of them, the white supremacy one is hard to say. People seem to like it online, but it's so dark. I mean, I'm so the opposite of white supremacy.
Yeah, and you know that if they're, you know, like 9.5 times out of 10, they're not going to want to be associated with that at all.
Right.
You know, and so, but have you, I've seen a few of your videos where you had folks get really, really like pissed off. And like, I think one time you had a real old lady on there and she was walking across the street and she got pretty angry about it. And even when you said it was a prank, she still was mad about it, right? She's like, oh, that's not funny. And do you remember?
Yeah.
Well, maybe she was older, I guess.
Maybe you remember doing the white supremacy prank and the lady.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw the.
So you ask.
Yeah, mostly I ask beforehand. I'm like, is this okay to use for social media? Or I just say, do you want to say this for my YouTube? And I pretty much take that as like a, you know, they're giving their consent. And
well, that's nice of you. See, and that's why I like you, man, because a lot of people have the glasses on now and they're just recording people and they don't know it.
Right.
They're posting them.
Yeah.
But you're nice enough to say, hey, can I use this?
Right.
Wow.
Right. And usually, and if they say no afterward, it sucks because sometimes I get such a good thing and it's like catching a huge fish and throwing it back, you know. And somebody just the other day, it was the Satanism one, it wasn't even a big deal, she laughed it off, but then she messaged me and asked me not to post it. I was so bummed, it was already edited.
What if you just post it though?
Oh,
yeah, that's just not you.
I'm too afraid. Well, for one, I wouldn't do it just out of respect to her, but yeah. I posted something that it was a miscommunication. I thought they were fine with it because after I revealed, they laughed. But before they knew it was a prank, they said, you better not post it. That's how the cop interaction happened. Did you see the cop one? The body cam? Yeah, I requested the body cam footage because my footage, even though I filmed the whole interaction, on University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee's campus.
I think I did see that one.
Yeah, that basically I had to go to court twice. And this was like early on before, you know, I don't know. This was like over a year ago. And I had to go to court.
Oh, I do remember that one. Yes, I do remember. Where somebody went and told on you and claimed that you were asking like terrible questions, like sexual whatever questions or whatever, right?
Right.
It was a guy that told on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So I have had the cops call on me.
Which was a lie.
Twice. Well, no, it was true. They were like, oh, you asked him about doing gay porn. Even though the kid knew it was a prank, he didn't mention that it was a prank to the cops. He's like, he's asking people to do gay porn. Because at the end, sometimes they throw in, you know, have you ever thought about modeling? And is just as part of the bit. And basically in front of the judge, though, the judge was like, I was like, I took the video down. You know, it was a miscommunication. And he dismissed it, but he was like, you better not end up in front of me again. He's like, I'm not going to go light on you. You better make sure you have permission. Even though it's like, you know,
right.
It was a soliciting charge, like job soliciting on campus. And
the kid was claiming that you were soliciting or something like that. And you weren't soliciting, like
just as a prank, like a job soliciting.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it wasn't, soliciting, prostitution soliciting. It was okay. Yeah, it was really offending. That's really strange. And that sounds like one of your worst encounters that you've had.
There's two others, bro. There's two others that stand out. Two technical assaults. Nothing bad. Nothing bad. But the first punches I ever had to throw in my life for one of them.
Did someone try to like smash your camera or what?
Yep. Well, the first time a dude, before I was telling people it was a prank, so he walked away from the whole situation, um, thinking he ended up on some gay porn website, which is my bad, And so he saw me like a month later, and I'm streaming, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's this guy. He's walking up. He's, remember me? He's like, I'm gonna fuck you up, bro. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm like, bro, don't hit me. Like that was my first reaction. I'm like, don't hit me, bro. You're on camera. He's like, take that fucking camera off. And I'm like, not if you're gonna hit me, bro. Anyway, I think since the camera was on, he just sort of grabbed me and shoved me real hard. No big deal. And then I went off just verbally on him. Like you privileged white homophobic bitch. But anyway, I ended up like going into his work. I'm like, yeah. It was bad. He ended up coming back and he apologized, and immediately, dude, that apology totally diffused me. I'm like, listen, I'm sorry too. He's like, I just been getting angrier and angrier every day about it. I thought I was on that website, and I'm like, no, it's a prank, man. I'm like, I'm sorry, and I went back into his work. I'm like, no, it was my fault, and that was the one. The other time, this kid, I didn't even prank him. I asked them if they wanted to be on my show. He just sniffed me out and thought I was a troll, which I kind of am, I guess, and tried to be a nice one. But he was like, he came over. I said, oh yeah, just say you're watching the Jabbaloon Show. He didn't even say anything. He grabbed my phone and just threw it into the cement as hard as he could. I'm like, what the fuck?
What?
So I pick up my phone. I'm like, what? And I already was like, don't go down the road of just like picking a fight, call the cops, go by the law. You'd already been to court over it. So I called 911. Somehow they go, you've called the non-emergency line, please hold type thing. So I'm on hold the whole time. I go up to him. I'm like, bro, you think it's okay just to throw people's property? And he's like, get the fuck away from me, troll. And he takes off his pop and he's splashes it on me, his lid of his like big gulp or something. Wow. And I think he was really drunk, and he basically just grabbed a hold of me, was like, what do you call that? Bear hugging me. And I'm like, freeze up. I got like bullied and stuff, and in school was always like a pacifist, never fought back, even though I have some karate background. And I was like, went into panic mode, like, oh, yep, just kind of gonna get your ass kicked. I'm like, wait a second, don't. Get your head together. Don't panic. Like you can do something. And yeah, I mean, he did it first, so I don't think it would count as assault on my part. It was self-defense. But then I just cracked him in the back of the head a couple times with a punch, which is so unlike me. I've never thrown a punch in my life. But I think beside the point, but when you take that bullying and stuff as a youth and don't do anything back, maybe it comes out when you're 40. I don't know.
You know what, though, man? I mean, what you're doing is pretty randomly dangerous because you could be on the street passing out lollipops.
Right.
And then you just encounter those people.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just do nothing wrong except interact.
Yeah.
And you just don't know where people are at.
Sure. Now I'm like, dude, I can't risk getting hurt. I got a family. I'm like newly married, stepkid. I'm like, I got to be safe for their sake. Like, God forbid. I've had somebody said like a couple of people threatened like, oh, I would have shot you back in the day. I would have shot you twice in the arm, once in the leg. I'm like, Jesus, Wow, so now I'm like, de-escalate, carry my pepper spray.
You got to be careful. So, and a lot of times when you're out there, you're by yourself. I mean, sometimes I see you have someone holding a camera.
Yeah, very rarely I get somebody to come out and hold it for me, but I don't have that many, any networking here in Milwaukee. So usually it's with the selfie stick, but yeah, a lot of the, especially old clips, I was paying somebody to film it, but yeah, usually it's just by myself.
Yeah. And the other comedy bit that you do is you do the surveys.
Right.
And then I noticed you were also holding up signs. Like what other type of comedy bits do you do besides the Jabbaloon Show sponsor, and then what else do you have, or do you have coming over the horizon?
Man, I want to keep expanding and pushing it and doing new stuff. I get the best reaction from that same type of bit, so I do kind of lean on that, like stick to the foundation. But yeah, I did like panhandling, asking for money for genital enhancement surgery. Had a couple lines like, "Oh, I got a baby carrot," blah blah blah. You know, um, asking the survey where you're asking, "Oh, it's just a health survey. How many hours of sleep do you get a night? How many fruits and vegetables do you eat a week? How often do you masturbate? And then slipping in stuff that's
You slip in it and then you slip back out of it, and
right,
it's like, did he just ask me that question?
right, just to try to get that reaction. But
Damn.
man, I got so many other ideas. I got a whole other project. It's Church of Pastor Roy. It's like a crazy. I started this with my boy Justin years ago. Also, never went anywhere. Been trying to slip it in, but he's just like a crazy Southern character who's like, ultra religiously conservative and always just like, preaching hellfire and brimstone and telling people they're going to go to hell. And so that's Church of Pastor Roy, if anybody wants to look that up. I'm proud of them. I think they're maybe funnier than Jabbaloon Show, but it hasn't picked up yet.
I'm gonna check it out for sure. I don't know if you figured it out yet, but as a comedy content creator, folks that do that sort of thing often walk a fine line. Have you figured out how to stay funny without burning yourself out or constantly trying to feel like you're outdoing your last video?
Right.
That's a challenge, right?
Yeah, that is a challenge because I'm like, what do I got to keep pushing it further? Like now I got this cop video up. Like there was a little part of me that was like, should I prank the judge? I'm like, no, can't. Don't go that far. Like, should I keep the bit going while I'm in court? Because I kept it up with the cops. Never told them it was a prank. And then asked them if they were interested in modeling. So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping just by keeping expanding, I definitely want to keep streaming. I love doing that. That's like my favorite outlet. I just have a blast with the community, like getting to interact and stuff. But yeah, I had just have a whole list of like notes, and me and Justin still get together like once a week, and we just feed off each other's inspiration. Like I don't know. I just got like endless Jabbaloon Show notes of stuff I want to do.
Dude, that's awesome. I do the same thing too, man. I sit there, and some of the things I never unpack or I never put into action, but it's just throughout the day I'm thinking about this, thinking about that, and that's kind of what I've been doing the last couple of years. Like after starting this, everyone's starting a podcast now. It seems like
you're killing it though, bro. I mean, you're a pro.
I'm not a pro, dude. I am so unorganized.
No, this is an awesome interview.
I appreciate you being flexible, even with the scheduling and everything, man. Because it's and really this is kind of out of bounds with what I normally do. But lately, I've been interested in interviewing people that I want to interview that I find interesting. And this is like a military podcast, but I'm the military side of it. The people that I talk to, a lot of times there's themes to their life, their character that are in part to what I've learned when I was in the military. So adapt and overcome, which is what I'm going to ask you about here in a minute, because I know that you've had a lot of hurdles, obstacles, setbacks, times where you just wanted to fucking just sell it all and just quit, because I know I have before. I felt that way where I was like, well, I could just quit and just go play video games and then everything would be great, right? So yeah, I mean it's a struggle all around to do this sort of thing, especially when anyone can go to Best Buy and purchase a microphone or a camera. But overall, you mentioned a few different skits that you've done. Is there a particular skit or a post that you're especially proud of, even if it didn't go viral?
Yeah, this one always comes to mind. It wasn't even really the typical thing. The guy just asked like, what is your show? And I'm like, went into an explanation, and I'm like subtly kind of being like, it's not porn. I was like, hottest gay black dudes, but I'm like, oh, it's not porn, and he's like, it's not porn. I'm like, yeah, it's just solo dudes, and I'm like referencing, making gestures. Anyway, his girlfriend is cracking up so hard the whole time, and it's just like, it warms me just to think about it, because she's just laughing her ass off that her boyfriend's getting asked to do gay porn. And like, I don't know, it was this awesome black couple. They were so funny and chill. And I did tell him it was a prank afterward, and he was real cool about it and shouted out Jabbaloon Show at the end. And yeah, I don't know I don't know. I can send it to you. That one always stands out to me. I always thought it was funny, but yeah, didn't really get a lot. It wasn't popular.
That's the big guy, right? The big
Yeah,
guy.
yep.
Yeah, I saw that one.
With the do-rag.
Yep.
Yeah.
I saw that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was definitely funny, man. So, Josh, what would you say besides comedy? What's something people would never guess that you're actually really good at?
Well, I did karate as a kid. Me and my dad did it together. We almost got to our black belts, stopped when I was 12 because I got busy with the pie company. And man, I just it was under my skin the whole time. Like, I want to do this again. I want to go back and get that black belt. I want to achieve that, you know?
Yeah.
And so during COVID, so 2020, I ended up going back to my old school and just worked my ass off for a few years. Amazingly, doing it as a kid, that stuff sticks in your muscle memory, you know? So it came back so quick, learning all the forms, the katas and stuff. And within a few years, I ended up, so I got my belt back eventually, tested for the next one, my red stripe, and tested for my black belt. And it was, you know, just being hyper focused. Like, my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, moved to Milwaukee, and I was like 6 months away from testing. And I'm like, I stayed back in Michigan, stayed with my parents, and just, you know, worked my ass off, pushed myself, and got my black belt. And yeah, I think people probably
That's
wouldn't
cool.
expect that.
No.
Yeah.
That's badass, man.
Thanks. You know, same
a
kind
lot
of
of work.
principles that we're saying about pushing yourself and like not being afraid to be vulnerable, exposing yourself, you know,
Yeah.
perseverance.
Yeah.
You know, definitely that was all, you know, karate taught me a lot of that, I think.
That's really cool, man. I
Thanks.
would have never guessed that you're a black belt in karate.
Yeah.
So let that be a warning to anyone out there that tries to smash your phone.
Yeah, true. Unless they know jujitsu, because I don't know, that might trump my karate. But I'm trying to get into jujitsu now, though. That's my next.
I've been training for over a decade now.
In jujitsu?
I'm a brown belt, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah, bro. That's so dope.
Yeah. It's funny because when I was younger, I didn't care for the promotions. I didn't like seek it out. I almost didn't want it. I almost didn't want promotions because I felt like there was more pressure when you went to the next level. And I used to walk into a lot of gyms because I traveled a lot, and then also I moved a lot. So walking into a new gym can be very unnerving because first thing they see is that belt and they're thinking, oh, this guy's purple belt. No, let's see what he's made of.
Right.
And so you've got everyone in there just dive bombing you, and I didn't like that. But I've been very blessed over the years to have really good training partners, really good gyms that have just pushed me to get promoted. A lot of my friends now have been black belts for a while. So I'm just a brown belt. But
no, that's a
hopefully
big achievement. It takes a lot longer to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu than karate.
Hopefully in a couple of years I can do it. I've trained at a lot of different gyms too. So being consistent, staying at the same gym under the same, you know, it all matters. So, but no, man, I love martial arts. I think it's a great outlet. It teaches you a lot of things with discipline and following through and achievement. So
yeah.
And with that being said, like over the horizon, man. So what's next for the Jabbaloon Show?
Jabbaloon Show podcast. Shot the first episode of it a couple weeks ago. I'm thinking about shooting the next one today. I'd love to do it. It's not as interactive as the streaming, but I think I would really love it. Like you said, everybody's podcasting, but you know, bring my own little unique brand of humor to it. And yeah, essentially it's just like treating it like hanging out with me, you know, watch some YouTube videos, do some reacting, and just get silly and let that side of myself out. So that's a big one that I'm trying to go for.
Well, just like ICP, they had their own
record label,
Juggalos, or what?
Right.
What was their community?
Juggalos,
called?
yeah.
Juggalos, right? They had their own army of Juggalos. I mean, you could have your own army of Jabbaloons.
Well, somebody came up with the term lunatic. So,
lunatics.
Yeah. So that's
Jabbalunatics.
It sounds cocky to have your own name, but I do think it's funny to, you know, say
that's very ICP-ish.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, true.
Your content often turns everyday, just average living, walking to and from into laughter. So, can you share a moment in your life when you had to adapt and overcome? Perhaps that was when a video flopped, or life somehow threw you a curveball, or you had to pivot creatively?
Right. Man, sticking to creative stuff mostly.
Yeah, whatever
Well,
sticks out in your mind.
I had some real mental health challenges, especially like 10 years ago, living in Detroit, bought a cheap house when the housing market was low, living reclusively, not working, smoking pot all day. And that was a real challenge. It was eventually kind of really hitting my low point, going through a breakup around that time. And I was like, dude, I don't know. I think when you're desperate, forces you to take action, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting into therapy. I'm gonna see if I need some meds. And then just really working on myself. And then it's been a slow work, but again, same thing happened once I got in my current relationship with my now wife. Was like I was still dealing with a lot of that stuff. And it was just like, no, I gotta be better for her. I can't put her through my issues. And other than that, it was really just, on a lighter note, grinding with the music, just
Yeah.
and getting nowhere, no positive feedback, just, and I thought it
Yeah.
was good. I still think it's good. Like, I wouldn't put it out if I didn't think it was good, at least by my taste. I like it. And,
That's an incredible amount of accountability that you have.
thanks,
I
man.
mean, it really is. I mean, a lot of times military veterans suffer from mental health issues. And a lot of times I give the advice of telling our veterans to meet people in the middle. Instead of always thinking that it's the civilian's job to come to your side of the pasture, how about you meet them in the middle somewhere? How about you try to understand where they're coming from?
Yeah.
And then maybe that'll help, take some accountability
Yeah. Yep.
in like in yourself. I can't expect anyone to understand what it's like, that what I've been through, but
Right.
I can try to understand what they might know or might not know.
Yeah.
And I think that helps bring the like your mental status a little bit more of an understanding perspective.
Sure.
So you talking about that and taking the accountability is huge, man. And maybe karate played a role in that, and growing up, and your parents raising you the way they raised you and everything. Maybe that was super helpful.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah, I do think, and when I did get back into karate, that was a huge help on the mental health too.
Yeah.
Was such a go there. You're forced to be so present, kind of. You know what I mean? Especially if you're
Yep.
sparring or something, you're so in the moment. You're not in your head. So it was
Oh,
like, go get out of my head, and the discipline, the respect, everything.
yep.
That big shout out to Patty Troya, and Andy Troya, who now passed my masters, and you know, uh, professor of jujitsu there. They also did jujitsu.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's tiring out that body, man. I know anytime I've gone through a hard part of my life, I've leaned on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I've been so grateful because even when I was at the lowest points of my life, I had an opportunity where I worked with a former Marine, Cardo Urso. He just threw me the keys to the gym and said, "Hey, anytime you can go to the gym and just work yourself out." And he goes, "I know you're going through some stuff." And that
That's
was great.
awesome.
5 days a week, man. I was in there working my
Nice.
ass off. Because I
That's so
know, man,
cool.
when you come to those forks in the road and you have choices, go to the bar, drink, or
Right.
or go to the gym. I mean, you try to be. I've always tried to be self-aware to
Yeah.
push myself in a more positive direction. So
It can be the harder choice to make, but it's usually has the better payoff.
oh, in the long run, no doubt, man.
Right.
You've made a lot of really self-aware, accountable decisions for your families. What do they think about all this? What do they think about your internet comedy career? Are they supportive, confused, or constantly bracing to end up in one of your videos?
My wife is so supportive. She's such an angel. She lets me do this stuff where I'm like, I'm not bringing in much money. I'm doing this like mostly full time, part time, remotely working for my parents. But, um, and she works her ass off at her job, and she's just like lets me pursue my dream. It's great. At the same time, yeah, she can hardly watch the videos. She just is it just cringes her out. It's just too, she hates that awkward vibe and the potential of confrontation. And so occasionally I make her watch one that, I want her to see. But yeah, she's on that side of it. She can't really get into it, but she's so supportive. Yeah. I'm
I just
super
love
grateful.
I just love how spontaneous it is, man. I love it. It's just I love it. I'm just thinking, God, I would get caught up in some shit like that where like somebody's just asking me, my mind is here, and then someone's asking me to like sponsor their show, and I'll just do it, and then next thing you know, like you're
Right.
saying some off ball weird stuff, man. So, and I know that that can attract some critics, like comedy content creation can attract critics. How do you handle the negative comments or people who just don't get it?
I'm so thankful that there's barely been any, and I'm sure if my stuff keeps growing, they'll come in more. There has not been that much. I mean, a couple people when I did the police one, and I said, for record, I do support the police, and a couple of people took issue with that, and I dealt with it. Criticism is hard for me though. I do think, the couple negative ones that have come in, I'm like, you know what? You have to choose right now while it's small. Don't focus on that. There's so much good coming in. Don't focus on that one little negative thing. You got to let it roll off your shoulders. So like, I'm trying to put that into practice right from the get.
Well, you know what, man? I honestly think you're not getting a lot of negative comments because you have some level of respect. I mean, early on, it sounds like you ran into some issues, but the fact that you're telling people that it's a prank, you're not shoving somebody's property off into the side of the other side of the grocery store. You're not squaring up on people.
Right.
I mean, man, we've had so many bad pranksters over the years that have just gotten in huge. I mean, Vitaly just got arrested in the Philippines, and he's looking at 24 years in prison.
Really? I actually don't know him.
So Vitaly was one of the early YouTube pranksters.
Okay.
And he kept pushing the content. We started doing the content overseas, and when you're in another country, they don't play those games. Like they don't.
Right.
Like they will arrest you for things that like you would not get arrested for here in the United States. And he's currently waiting trial in the Philippines right now.
Wow.
So I mean, yeah, you got to be careful, man. And there's been, for a while the whole prank show thing kind of went away, and it's kind of coming back again. So I mean, like I said, man, yours caught my eye, cracks me up every time. And if you could collaborate with any other creator, celebrity or fictional character, who would it be besides me? And what kind of chaos would you unleash together?
Man, once I get that sponsorship, we'll do Jabbaloon learns jujitsu from KP.
KP.
I was gonna say
All
KT.
right, man.
I was gonna say KC, but what were you gonna say?
So what if you could collaborate with any other creator, celebrity, or fictional character out there, who would it be?
I'm a huge Tim Heidecker fan. I just think his brand of comedy, so funny. He's like top tier level to me from Tim and Eric. I love Tim Heidecker, his antics. It would be a dream to have him like, hey, let's produce this show in our studio. We'll funnel some money into it. Give me some expenses to travel and to, broaden and hire some people to help edit. I'm like doing all the editing, subtitling the captions by manually. And other than that, obviously, like Sacha Baron Cohen is the GOAT, of this kind of stuff. Love all his stuff. I got my couple musical heroes, Maynard, Eminem, Trent Reznor, on that front of things.
Maynard. All the guys are Midwest guys. Maynard, Reznor. Who else did you say?
Eminem, yeah.
They're all Midwest.
Ohio and Michigan, yeah. That's true. Funny. But yeah, Tim Heidecker, I'm sure he's watching right now. Tim, please. We need that sponsorship.
Tim Heidecker.
Let's manifest it, bro.
Do it, man. I'm in your corner, man. I'm a big fan of yours. This has been an absolute honor. Before we wrap things up, man, was there anything that I didn't mention that you'd like to mention before we finish off the show?
Man, I don't think so, man. You're watching the Jobbaloon Show, number one place for the freaking best podcaster interviewer out there, dude. I love this. This was such a blast. And man, you're killing it, bro. And
I'm not.
you're like a gentle giant because you're so sweet and kind, even though on the outside you're intimidating.
Me?
Wow, look at those muscles and those Hawaiian
Dude,
tattoos, bro.
it's so funny. I hear that sometimes, like, oh, you look very intimidating. I'm like, this is the thing too. Like, I think when you do things like jujitsu or any type of martial art, you're sort of the last guy to want to get into any kind of altercations. You're like the guy trying to de-escalate, trying to get away from it. It's like not.
Yeah.
It's not something. There's no machismo in that stuff.
If
But
you're a true martial artist, absolutely, that's the
yeah,
principle.
yeah, no doubt, man. No, this has been an absolute honor, man. I knew this was going to be a great conversation because I was looking forward to this interview, and I love your content, man. Make sure if you're listening out there to follow the Jabbaloon Show. You're on TikTok. You're on Instagram. What else are you on?
Yep, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. The TikTok and Instagram are Jobbaloon. YouTube's the Jabbaloon Show. Unfortunately, the Jabbaloon was taken for some reason. And then if people want to come hang on Twitch, it's Jabbaloon on Twitch. We have our little Twitch community. We have a blast. That's where I really just get to be myself and chill out. And it's I don't know. We're always laughing, playing music, being stupid.
I don't even know how to use Twitch. I need to get on it though. So
Yeah,
figure it out. Twitch and what's the other one?
there's so many to.
No, there's another big
Discord.
one. Discord, that's what it is. I don't understand how it works. I've got it downloaded, but I don't understand how it works.
I'm there too. If you want to join up our Discord community, that's also a little tight knit. That's more. It's not even people just kind of chat and vent their problems, and it's a cool little community.
Yeah, it's awesome, man, that you can bring folks together, and hopefully, man, you can create the Jabbaloon lunatic army and start that podcast, man, and get things going. I really appreciate you giving me your time today, Josh. And I'm looking forward to seeing your growth here in the next few years, man. I want to see where you take this thing.
Thank you, brother. That means so much. I appreciate you, dude. You're rocking this. Honestly, this was such a freaking blast. Like this was awesome. So I'm elated. So, and it was awesome to connect on the martial arts stuff. Who would have thought that would be one of our topics? But
well, I know that you have hidden superpowers, so I'm glad to know that. And now I know that you have that black belt in karate. So I'll if I'm ever around you, man, I gotta watch out.
Dude, we gotta hit the mats together one day.
Yeah, that'd be badass, man. Definitely. If I'm in Milwaukee, I wanted to ask you too before we round off. Do you have any plans on going to any other cities?
I hope so. I would just need funding, but I am going to be back in Detroit, so I'm trying to collab with this crazy ass prankster out there because I'll be back home. So I'm thinking of doing there. Chicago's only a couple hours away.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in New York in May. I'm thinking if I get a little time, maybe pursue it in New York, get some interesting footage. Other than that, if I get a sponsor, hopefully they could fund some of the travel expenses.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, man, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be part of your journey. I hope that I can help your growth as well. For folks out there, make sure you follow the Jabbaloon Show, man, and like his stuff. It's freaking hilarious. It's respectable at the same time, but it's funny. You'll love it. Trust me.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
everyone.
bro.
No, man, it's all my pleasure, all my honor. And for everyone else out there, as always, I want you to stay tuned, stay focused, and stay motivated. Warriors, fall out.